What is up, everybody? Welcome to Shared Screens Media Club, your one stop shop for movies, video games, TV shows, reviews, recaps, discussions, all that good stuff, all different forms of media except books, because fuck books. Joining me today, we got a nice one on one podcast. It's just me and your boy Jim Tasty, aka Brett Jamerson. Brett, how are you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm good. I'm excited to talk Secret Invasion. Yeah, man, this episode has some drip. Had some
Oh,
drip
I
to it.
loved this episode. Like, listen, I know I usually like to come in with general positivity, and I know Marvel hasn't been hitting as much for some people their past few projects, but so far, basically haven't gotten the first act done. You know, we're one third of the way through the show already because it's only 6 episodes. Secret Invasion's pretty good. Like, I really enjoyed these 2 episodes.
I wish they dropped like the first two here, kind of like what they did with Andor with three, because some people were kind of mixed on the first episode with Secret Invasion, and I know with this show also, in terms of like screeners with like media members and stuff, like they're not giving out like advanced copies. Like
Mm-hmm.
those entertainment folks are like, oh yeah, we don't know anything beyond this episode, stuff like that. So I think if they would have released these two, it could have built more hype. I think for the show going into
Possibly,
it.
I think that they wanted to let us sit with Maria Hill's death, kind of
Yeah,
have us linger for a week, being like, did she really? Are they going to save her? Do they got medicine on them? Anything like that? Um, I also am surprised though. Like this show's marketing has been
it's
pretty
weird.
weak. Like I
I
knew it was coming, but there wasn't really trailers. There were not early screenings with early reviews. I think even if if the first 2 episodes were given to press in like a week before it came out, you had people being like, "Hey, this is a movie quality level
I
MCU show."
I wonder if they were like going for like a slow burn where let's say the show like really is great, and they're like, but because it's like based off of espionage and secrets and I'm sure reveals and stuff coming up, like they don't want it to like be spoiled or like I don't know, like it is weird. And just generally with Marvel, they've had to reshuffle all their dates with shows and movies because of still COVID related factors, general reception, some issues with the leading stars of some of the
Yeah,
stuff.
and
So
on top of all that, a writer's strike.
yeah, and the writer's strike, which is affecting some of the movies coming up. Yeah, like I still don't sit like not that like it didn't hit me as much as I thought I would. It would have with Maria Hill's death. Like we kind of got more like we got kind of got more emotional with her mom in that one scene than like we really ever got with Maria Hill ever. Like
Yeah, like I remember when I was watching the first episode, I was kind of just like jaw open, like I can't believe they fucking killed Maria Hill, let alone they did it in the pilot episode. And then the second episode, now granted, my usual rule with comic book shit is if I don't see a body, I don't believe they're dead. I don't know who's in that casket. You know what I mean? Like if they wanted to bring her back, they could. I'm gonna believe that she's actually dead for now, though. And so like that the episode really did get me going. Like shit, man. Like Maria Hill's dead, and that kind of fucking sucks because I really liked her.
and you know Nick Fury as a character, like he's not an emotional guy, so it's hard. It's hard. You know, I I, I wish they would have shown just like maybe privately him really like you know breaking down or dealing with that. Like
Yeah, I think that the moment he had outside after he left the restaurant that Rhodey was in and he like went to that bench, I think that was kind of him breaking down because he couldn't go to Maria for the first
mhm.
time and probably since he's met her.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, we didn't get to see him actually. I don't know. I'd say he was pretty broken, but we didn't get to see him break down at the death itself.
yeah, yeah. Just like I'm thinking of like because people made comparisons to Andor with this show from what limited pre-release access they got, like the media people got, but like like Nemec, who like was a new character to the Andor show, like you really felt for him his beliefs, his cause, his mindset, and then when he died, you were like, oh dang, like it really affected at least me when he got crushed. And so the fact that they were able to introduce his character, establish who he is, and then have you emotionally deal with his loss, like in 3 episodes, versus like 11 years of Maria Hill, like it's interesting, like, and I don't know if that's like this show, if it's just the Marvel MCU monolith, like Tony Gilroy's literally just goes with the sauce and a little quirked up.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I part of me gets what you mean. Like, I don't think I watched Maria Hill's death and I felt the same way when like Tony died in Endgame, obviously, and like there's a lot of things that play into that, but it still was like a big thing for me. I was like, fuck, man, like this would have been her time to shine, like this series. And
I know,
yeah.
So,
but anyway, like other than the scene with her mom, what did you think of the episode overall? Because personally, I'm loving it. I really liked it. This is if the whole show continues with the vibe we got in this first act, I think it might be one of the better Disney Plus shows.
I think getting it more in the mind of Gravik this episode. You see him as a kid, and then you see him with the meeting. You see him talking to Gaia, Emilia Clarke's character, and stuff like that. He's a very empathetic character, even though he's like kind of wanting to annihilate a species. But you understand his motivations, and that's what makes a good villain. And so, and in fairness, Nick Fury, took 30 years to, he still hasn't done it yet.
Yeah, so he still hasn't found them a planet to live on, and so
I think they're teasing like that the Skrulls will just coexist with like the plant and stuff, and everything like that. Like I feel like they dropped some hints, but that was great to just get more motivations on Gravik. Samuel L. Jackson had a couple awesome scenes, like the train car scene was so funny. Tell me something I don't know. You're like, oh shit, dude.
And then when he finds out that there's 1 million Skrulls currently living on Earth.
Now, I don't think that they're all weaponized. I don't think they're all like insurgents.
Yeah, I don't think there's 1 million
because
of them
that one town
like for Gravik.
That one town had 500. And I'm assuming there's like 20 other settlements or something like that.
That Gravik controls, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other Skrulls are just all over the place. I feel like with 1 million, you'd definitely see some, and then like it would go viral. But like, because it still seems to be like a secret to like the everyman.
But I think they're all making sure to stay disguised.
Yeah. So that was shocking. And then what else was I going to bring up that I loved? Some teases to the Super Skrull stuff.
Absolutely.
Which I guess we saw in some trailers. So, but like I forgot about that. Or it's like very brief. I think there's like a still of somebody like shooting. Like it's supposed to be like the Mr. Fantastic, but it's like the Groot arm thing.
Okay, yeah, I am seeing that screen grab. That's actually Gravik though in that trailer.
Yeah, which I guess makes sense, right? Like he's the leader. He wants to make sure he's juiced up and
augments himself first.
Another jabroni. Yeah. So, and something maybe it's like the Fallout fan of me, but something about seeing like an old ass like DOS computer, like I'm like hell yeah, like. Let's go, dude. Yeah, I would never want to use one of those.
And we saw that it was a frost giant, Groot, and Cull Obsidian.
And the fire. What was the fire?
The fire.
Do we see it?
The ones I caught.
Extremis. It was Extremis.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
Extremis. So, So again, like. I don't know how they did it, but I forgot about the frost bees. I had to like look it up. I was like,
I assumed it was a frost giant, right?
No, so it's like in Thor: The Dark World, when the convergence happens and all the realms like line up in the portal, like the Frost Beast like flies out. It's like in the final battle. It's like a brief thing that
Oh,
like
okay, okay, yeah, yeah. It's
they
that
don't.
giant. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they
I
don't
remember
lean
this.
on it too long, and so I was like, dang, like again, I guess somebody kept it somewhere in a vault, and then Skrull just snuck it and got
Yeah, they
it.
basically have their way of fine, because what I liked is that these were all creatures that had been on Earth at some point, and so they had stolen this information, which doesn't seem that far fetched when we see that council they have. And that's the whole point of the scrolls is they have people in high end positions. So there's that council where you get the like basically the Tucker Carlton equivalent, played by the Scooter McGavin.
Yeah, dude. I was like they nailed like all of that, like the Fox News host guy. What was
I
it?
like
FXN
FXN,
News.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it was like that blue color scheme. Like it was very obvious what was going on there.
they had I'm not the most well versed on British politics, but like I know the was it Theresa May or something? They had a British Prime Minister lady that was like very anti-immigration, like very like conservative, and like
Yeah, I mean, Theresa May was in the, I want to say the 80s. My British history isn't up to date, but I know it was much, much older. Because I think she's compared to Reagan a lot. So I believe it's that time period. However, a note, something I did notice is they referred to the EU as well as England, meaning
Theresa May was 2016, 2019. She was new.
Who
Yeah.
the hell am I thinking of, man?
Also, Elizabeth Truss. Like, there's been a couple like conservative women as prime minister. Are you thinking Margaret Thatcher?
That's who I'm thinking. I'm thinking of Margaret Thatcher.
Again, but she's still a great comparison. But like that, like kind of like conservative white female leader.
Yeah.
That's like has a lot of constant British history. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I like that.
And they confirmed that Brexit happened in the MCU.
Yeah, I saw the screenshot with like the news vans. I was like, dang, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then we basically just we don't really get a full idea of who those other people on that council are, but they're very clearly
the one dude was like in charge of NATO or something.
Yeah, I think he was like head of NATO or head of a government that works for NATO.
But he seemed cool though. Like he was like not about annihilating humanity.
Yeah, and he was like, and I can fuck you all over, and then they just punched him in the throat.
Yeah.
And then the only person who really didn't agree with and vote was the lady from somewhere in South Asia.
Yeah.
Who I assume is also supposed to be again a very high government official or media figure, because you kind of need to have both, which they showed. Mm-hmm. And then we got to see them interviewing the United States, because this was an attack by the United States or by United States citizens on a foreign country, flipping all our allies against us. It's something that realistically I could see happening.
Yeah, and like the fact that the United States is like, we don't care. Like
he's like, I'm here as a courtesy. You guys have alleged,
which proof.
It makes sense in both ways, where like, and this isn't the best comparison because we know that government was kind of involved in it, but it's like, I'm going to compare this to 9/11 because they do say that 2,000 plus people died in this terrorist attack in Russia. So like the comparison actually is
counting
because they said it might double by the time they clear the rubble, which would actually make it exceed the 9/11 death cap.
That was one thing too. Like it didn't feel like.
Yeah, it didn't feel like it was 2,000 people in the.
I know they said dirty bombs so that sometimes contaminants get out there, but like. I don't know, like, it felt like 15 people died.
Yeah, and granted, we were looking at it from one angle, but you're right. Like, when you think of, like, the destruction on 9/11 and how that adds up to 3,000 people, you think of something so much grander than a couple of bombs going off at this public event where if they had said, like, it was 200 people, I'd believe it, but being like 2,000, clearly something we didn't see happened, or that explosion was much bigger than they were able to show it. But sticking with that comparison, it's like the people who committed 9/11 were like private citizens of their own country. And again, we found out since that Saudi Arabia kind of brought all those people together, and we didn't do anything about that. And so like, this isn't a one-to-one comparison, obviously. But, he has that very good excuse of being like, Nick Fury is in his right as a private citizen to allow to go to Russia. Are you telling me he was the only American there at the time? And but it is also interesting. Hirodi's like, I'm ready to give you up if you don't tell me what's going on. And then we also got to see how badass Nick Fury was when he referenced carpet bombing Slovakia after Rhodey made that comment, because Rhodey put his hand over the mic and turned around, meaning it was only meant for the American lawyer to hear. But Nick Fury's been watching him the entire time. He even heard that comment.
Yeah. Which, yeah, like, do we think Rhodey's a Skrull? I just want to jump into that. Do
You
we
know
think
what?
he's a Skrull?
I'm going back and forth on it. I'm inclined to say yes, because he wants to hand Nick Fury over, and it seems like he's like, hey, this might be the only person that's going to ruin our plan. But then part of me goes, but he's not in that council, and they didn't mention that somebody was missing.
Yeah, I mean, deep state actor, like, he's really trying to
it's also
milk it.
Yeah, it's also possible that, like, as far as like the Skrull hierarchy goes, he's not that high up. You know what I mean? Like those are the main. What was there, like 6 or 7, roughly?
Yeah, the council.
Yeah. So like maybe he's like two like people down below them, and so he's still high up, but he's still like, hey, I have to make sure that this Skrull invasion happens, and to do so, I have to kind of put away the person that they're looking for. That's the person who could probably blow this up. And I did like the reveal that if you kill or cut off a piece of a Skrull while they're in human form, that part will revert because you can't control it anymore, obviously. Mm-hmm. Also, the fact that they showed a dude's finger getting just straight up cut off in this episode.
We've seen some like gore and stuff like that where, like,
not to this level.
No. Like, obviously the finger cutting was like crazy, but like even when like Ravik and his like Strike Force entered in, like they're shooting dudes and like the blood's like shooting.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that.
They hung the one dude up on a meat hook.
Yeah, I feel like, again, I would have to watch all 29 movies and 10 TV shows or whatever, but like I feel like we don't get that too often. And so
not in this way. Like, the thing is, if you were to tell me that, if I wanted to compare this, I feel like I would just start with the ones I assume are the most bloody. And like, so like a lot of them I'd be like automatically no, in a way. Cause like what, all of Age of Ultron and the first Avengers you're fighting aliens or robots. And so that's not going to have that type of gore.
Yeah.
I would say that as far as my memory can think about it, this is one of the more gory, if not the most gory MCU project, because Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah, you had all that blood splatter onto the shield after he cuts that dude's head off, but like outside of that scene, not so much.
Yeah, it was pretty tame, all things considered. Like even like when John Walker shoots like the one flag smasher, like, you don't see anything really. So
no, I remember, like, I noticed in this episode there was actual blood splatter inside that butcher shop.
Wait, speaking of which, dude, like, again, Olivia Colman is like such a great actor, and just like the energy she brought to this role, like Sonya, like the like psychotic nature of like doing this crazy torture shit, but like being so, fluttery and easygoing. Like, it's just this weird energy that I love. It's so cool.
She's keeping the grandma energy while she tortures this guy.
Yeah. Like, again, definitely feeling the equal to Nick Fury and Valentina. So, I hope she shows up in more stuff, unless she's a Skrull or she dies in the show.
I doubt she's a Skrull.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back to Rhodey, because I love that whole conversation that they had in that diner.
He brought some heat against Nick Fury, like, and again, spoilers, like, I'm a white guy, but like when they were like towing that line of like talking about like, the racial background of both of them and like, all the prejudice and setbacks, African Americans have faced over hundreds of years. Like, I was like, that's like real heat you're bringing against Nick Fury. Like, especially like just again, yeah,
And the
like,
conversation of like, I don't owe you
um,
one just because that
yeah,
me and you made it to the top. Like we want the whole point is that we're qualified to do this regardless.
yeah. So like that energy was like completely real. Like I felt that. But it was so real that it makes me think like it was like if Rhodey's a scroll, like the scroll knowing, I don't know if Rhodey's mind melded or whatever, or like in the trap, or if he just took his skin and like knows the brief generalizations. But like I feel like if he's a scroll, he would want to say something super hurtful to like either emotionally make Nick Fury unstable or to make Nick feel like he doesn't have Rhodey as an ally or whatever. Like
Yeah.
again, he called him Nick a lot, so that might be a giveaway. I don't know. Like
That it was a scroll because yeah, everybody's supposed to call him Fury. But at the same time, Fury didn't seem to like pick up on that or call that out.
again, Fury's in like a fragile space right now, so he
Yeah.
might not be on top of his game in every
Yeah.
faculty.
I'm not agreeing or disagreeing. I'm really trying to figure it out because when he grabbed that security guard's gun, I thought his whole point was he was going to shoot Rhodey and expose that he was a scroll right there.
Yeah,
But then he didn't, and then I've had time to think
that's
about
a
it.
test. That's a test. I was like going back to the finger thing. I was like, bro, like the 30 years y'all were here, like Fury, Shield, or whatever didn't have like a scroll detector, kind of like Last of Us, like in the neck thing or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
but you just gotta peel off some skin and it'll turn green, right? So there you go.
And if it
That's
doesn't,
what.
you just know that you just potato peeled another human being.
Yeah, Nick Fury needs like one of those little like jackknives, man, and just chop up
Medical
everybody.
scalpel, so it's like just a really smooth cut. Just take a little piece of skin off, see if it changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody.
Again, I won't be surprised if Rhodey's a scroll, but I am also thinking of like, well, it is true that he has to like work for the government. I feel like part of me is more like, you know what? Maybe it's the president that's a scroll, and the president is telling him to be ready to
We
throw Nick Fury under the bus.
we know that the dude is done, right? Because Ross is going to be president, and so like, unless it's just like this is his second term or he loses the next election. I don't
Dude, I
know.
don't
Like,
want to know what presidential elections are like in the MCU. Because you're
like
like, I'm going to protect you from the blip. No, you won't. Because nobody
yeah,
could. The Avengers couldn't.
yeah. So um, there was a couple theories I saw that like both of them were scrolls, Rhodey and the president,
Okay.
because that one line read of like, what's the president's name?
I forgot. He
Rixler,
said it's something.
Rixler or something. It's like Rinsler. Well, Rinsler's from Tron, but like, but he was like, deal with it. Like that's either they're both humans. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, you could read that as like a scroll, subtly saying to another scroll, like, "Hey, like we got to keep whatever secret plan within the
Yeah.
giant secret plan. We got to keep it like moving or under wraps or whatever." So
Ritson.
Ritson, that was close. That was close. They said,
Yeah.
yeah. That
Also,
dude,
what's wild is so in Iron Man 3, we had President Ellis, right?
yeah.
Okay. But at some point, I think it's confirmed that Obama was president and like he only served one term in the MCU.
Wait, what?
I'm looking at the order of the presidents in the MCU right now. Yeah.
Was he president in '08 like he normally was, or timeline get shifted around? What's going on? Was he 20? Well, 2013 was Iron Man 3, so.
Okay, it looks like something in Luke Cage shows that in Luke Cage they mentioned the fact that he was like campaigning or something. But then he was succeeded in 2011 by Ellis. And then this is I only know because Lee Aaron's watched Runaways. Canonically, Trump was president in the MCU.
No way.
Yeah.
I thought the Runaways wasn't canon.
It technically is. They just don't like mention it.
Also, shout out to Brogan, the Skrull that got captured, because like I don't know about you, I read it from a mile away when they picked him up and they were like driving off into the forest. And
oh yeah. That they were just like, I thought that they were gonna know right away that he slipped and told them everything. So
well, even if you don't, like,
you don't take that risk.
Yeah, like you're like again, yeah, like I would assume in real life espionage, like if a person goes, POW like that in that kind of sensitive work, it's like
you don't risk it.
Yeah, like, yeah, I don't know, like, like, yeah, man, we're going to the farm.
And I don't know how he didn't realize, because he was like, "Are we almost there?" They're like, "Yeah, we're almost."
He was still jacked up on that, like.
Yeah, I think dude, that was dark. Where she was like, "It's going to boil your blood to like 2,000 degrees."
Yeah, how does that work? Like that must like.
I assume it's something he could only survive because he's a Skrull. She checked that first, right?
Yeah, because again, from Osmosis Jones, and just basic science, like our blood can only go to like 104 or something like that, and even then we're like not doing so great. So the fact that this was
the most accurate science show on television,
dude, Bill Murray, man, he was sick, man. So yeah, it was 165 Celsius or something like that. Like it was something like they said Celsius. So I'm like, okay, it's definitely way bigger. Oh, 329 degrees. It's like I forget. It's like exponential. Like
yeah, because I feel like she said something about in the thousands.
But yeah, he definitely was not in the right state of mind. So he was going to get jacked up.
Yeah, I think when they saw that their safe house had people around it, was maybe the like, yeah, no, we're killing this dude.
Mm-hmm. Also, this was like kind of a reveal to me. I kind of forgot about this, but Nick Fury is married.
All right, let's talk about that.
Also to a Skrull.
But the Skrull changed right before he walked in. So does he know it's a Skrull? Because there's three options.
I think there's a gray area. Yeah. Go ahead.
There is. He knows it's a Skrull,
mm-hmm.
which is just he knows it's a Skrull. Because somebody also pointed out that I saw on Reddit, that was the same woman in the beginning who introduced him to Gravik.
That's why I think
it could be a Skrull.
He knows.
So yeah, it's either he knows, which if he knows, he knows. And he doesn't, and she's been a Skrull the whole time. Or he doesn't, and his real wife was a human and was replaced by a Skrull at some point. And I think that's the worst option. There was something about...
I think because he saw the same human version back in the 90s, which again, that was a great like scene introducing Gravik, him not being a part of like the crew.
Him only being a kid back then.
Yeah. We seeing more of like the day to day with Fury, like trying to help these people. I think she is a Skrull and he knows, because I think storytelling wise, that would make it much more compelling to have an even more personal buy-in for him. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, that's the thing that I like is
like he actually has skin in the game.
If we find out that he knew or he didn't know, I think either way it makes that decision impactful, because if he knew, it shows that he doesn't necessarily look at them just as these crazy aliens that need to leave Earth. But he also understands why there can't be 1 million of them overnight, because that's going to freak out Earth. And he said, we don't have enough tolerance here for that. And if he doesn't know, it's just going to make him feel that much more cheated and lied to and all that. And it's like, maybe they have maybe the way she has a rule that he has to wear the wedding ring when he's in the house. There's also a rule that like she has to be in human form when he's in the house. It also could be Marvel's like, we don't want to show Samuel L. Jackson just fucking making out with this green alien person. Like we don't need to show that to the world. But there is also just some aspect about it in the way it was framed where it's like at first he was walking in, I was like, is this a Skrull walking into his house that's just like made herself at home and is going to be like, hello, Nick, I'm here to talk to you or whatever. Is this like one that he's been keeping refuge? Then when I kind of got to the point where I was like, maybe it's his wife, but I thought she was going to stay in Skrull form. There was something about her transforming right as he walked in and before he saw her that there is still the opportunity for them to be like, he has no idea.
Yeah, I wondered if it's just like, he's obviously just more accustomed to humans and just, maybe it's something that she does for him, or
he loves her, but he won't kiss her in Skrull form.
I'm sure they get freaky, with in the Skrull form stuff. I'm sure over the years.
I'm sure he pulls out his old magazines and he goes, "Hey, I look like this person."
Because yeah, and I had to look this up, but I was like, oh yeah, like there's like one throwaway line in Captain America: The Winter Soldier where he mentions like that he has a wife. So, yeah, it was like, but it was kind of a reveal. I was like, oh yeah, like he's married. Like that's crazy.
Thing is, I think they teased this earlier in the episode. Because when him and Rhodey were talking about the Skrulls, and Rhodey said, "You need to get out." He said, "Even when I'm out, I'm in," and he's in that Skrullussy. You know what I mean?
What about the train car sequence when he's talking to Talos, and he's like, "Trust me, like I know what a good looking Skrull looks like." Or is that episode 1? I think that was episode 1. But like,
I feel like I don't remember that line, but it
was episode 1. It was episode 1. But like, he's like, because Talos and
he said, "Oh, I'm handsome for my."
I think he said it in Captain Marvel, but he said it in this first episode too. He's like, "Yeah, I'm handsome," basically, and Nick's like, "Nah, dude, you're not."
Yeah, I know what a handsome Skrull looks like. Yeah, I think now that you put it like that, I do remember. But like that's what gotten me even more invested because now I need to know: does he know? Does he not know? Has she been one the whole time? Was she replaced halfway through the marriage? Like, there's so many. Oh my god! Because like if he never knew and it gets revealed to him, like his whole life, his whole marriage was just a lie. Like that's gonna break him.
Yeah, and then like, yeah, just like so, like the way it works is like that person that she's impersonating is like someone else. So like, if he does know, it's like that's just it's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, I guess that like she's taking on this other person's likeness, which is like that gets morally gray. The fact that they met, or that we first know that they at least knew each other in this situation when she introduced him to Gravik, and like so she's aware of the Skrulls. Again, it's just there's so many ways that they can go with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nick Fury, fucking that Skrullussy.
I'm surprised he kept it a secret, man. Like, Hawkeye kept it a secret, but
dude. They could. The next episode can reveal that Nick Fury's got 5 kids and 3 grandkids, and I'd believe it. Like that man doesn't tell anybody anything.
If you were going to become a superhuman, which power would you take? Would you take the Groot, Frostbeast, Call Obsidian, Extremis?
Oh, out of those 4 options, probably I guess the Groot.
Yeah. I feel like Groot or Call Obsidian. I feel like being super tough would be dope.
Yeah, I'll be honest. If it's real life, like the current world, and I don't actually have to fight villains and I could choose superpowers, I need multiple man from X-Men. You know what I mean? I need one of me at work, one of me playing video games, one of me consuming the TV I've missed out on, one of me making content, one of me cleaning and cooking the house. Like there just needs to be 30 me's constantly making my life better. And then at the end of the day, we all go back into one, and I get all the information. I feel like I've done all the work of keeping my apartment together, and I go to sleep.
How like the more he splits up, is he like each person less capable?
No, they're all fully capable.
Wait, what? That's crazy.
Arguably incredibly OP. Granted, it's just a guy.
Yeah.
But I think at one point it was like, I think he got to a point where he had like 30 versions of him that like he wasn't even like keeping track of anymore. Like they were just off doing their own shit.
Can they multiply or can only the original?
That I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. What happens if one dies? Like, does he lose like part of his life force, like a Horcrux?
I'm pretty sure when I last looked it up, it was just like, no, he's fine. Like as long as it's not like the prime one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Dang. I like how like even these articles I'm looking at just to reference stuff like calls that dude Shooter McGavin. Like, what's that
Yeah,
guy's real
I
name,
have no
bro?
idea what that actor's name is.
I've looked it up multiple times and I forget multiple times. He's
Christopher
just
McDonald.
Christopher McDonald. Yeah, he's Shooter McGavin, bro.
Oh, dude, this guy's mugshot photo from his DUI is amazing.
Oh yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope this show they kind of touched on it, but like they really need to like hit it closer to home or whatever. But like with because they kind of showed it with the flashback here or like talked about it, but like we need to like have Nick again grapple with like the failure that he didn't find a home, or like again in the show show some excuse on why he couldn't, because like you know we really haven't gotten that yet. Like they said, hey, you failed, but like we need to see Nick Fury grapple with that,
I
emotionally
agree.
deal with
Yeah, like
that.
he needs to acknowledge that like he made these people a promise and then he didn't see it through. And so realistically, some of them went, okay, let's just settle down here on Earth. Like and I think that the series is willing to do that because of the fact that like they're acknowledging the fact that he came back from the blip and basically went from Tony's funeral into space and talked to no one, that he has kind of shunned away other people the past few years. And like they're showing that like the Nick Fury isn't unstoppable the way he used to be. And part of that seems to be more of a confidence thing than it is maybe a like he's getting old thing.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like what? Yeah, will they explain in the show what he was doing on Saber? Like, yeah, yeah. They got a lot of a lot of explaining to do. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
love
think
those
I
scenes.
think we might find out more about what he was up to in the Marvels.
Yeah, and how's Secret Invasion gonna influence? Yeah, like the Marvels.
Yeah, because he
Uh,
is back up there in the Marvels trailer. So, like, is that where he ends up, or does the Marvels take place before? I doubt that the Marvels takes place before this,
no, no, I think it's after. But like even
especially
like
because he.
Captain America and Thunderbolts, like yeah, we talked about last week, but like what are the reveals going to be? Because they have to toe the line. Like Rhodey would be a good example of like someone being a scroll because like he was um, he was not snapped, right? So there's 5 years of just him being on Earth for the other guy to simulate. He was a part of like those, I guess, Avengers meetings in between,
Mhm.
the snap and the blip. So like he would have access to
I
like
I
a lot of
wouldn't be
information.
surprised if the blip is when Rhodey got taken over.
Mm,
You know, it's like you have it the fact that he's lived, you have the fact that he's now become a pretty trustworthy person because he was on the Avenger side, but he is a military man and has wanted to work alongside the government, really, other than like telling Ross to go fuck himself in Infinity War. He's always kind of done his duty as a soldier, which is like just like we discussed with Falcon and Soldier. That's what a good soldier does, even though it's not comfortable to think about. The good soldier does what he's supposed to do. And so probably in that hustle of him probably going back and forth from Avengers to Tower to DC to maybe Wakanda to figure stuff out because you had all those people talking. If at some point he was snatched up, they got his memories, they took his skin, and uh, that would be interesting because that would tell us that the Rhodey in Endgame was a scroll.
see, you got to be careful when a character gets taken over because it's like, dude, if he doesn't like, if the real Rhodey doesn't get to process like the loss of Tony like that would be weird because he was because remember in that shot he's one of the three that like consoles him as he dies. It's Pepper Potts,
Yeah.
Spider-Man, and
Maybe afterwards then, because
Rhodey.
that still would have been a giant shuffle. Like there's still, like, as we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like governments were still scrambling when people came back, because now you're starting to finally adjust to this giant loss, and 5 years later they all come back.
Yeah.
And outside of that, the only time we really saw him was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he gave a few words of encouragement to Sam.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, yeah, maybe everybody coming back is when he got snatched and became a Skrull. Rhodey is the one I think is most likely to be a Skrull, but I also feel like it's so obvious I don't want him to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, are they going to like? We need a super element to the show. So Rhodey's like the only one we got in terms of his super suit. So yeah, I don't know. There's still a lot of show left. I love how these episodes are an hour long, 53 minutes, whatever, 57 minutes.
It works really well for this format.
I love it because I don't know why, and I wasn't the biggest fan of The Mandalorian season 3, but it really like I really didn't like it or appreciate it just personally, but also like pace wise, where it's like you get a 53-minute episode of The Mandalorian, and then next week you get like a 34-minute episode. And you're like, what is going on here? You're doing like the hour-long special television format, and then you're doing like kind of like a sitcom format with like the 30 minutes. Of, like, what's
Mando's tough because like it wants to be like this old, hey, it's a weekly Monster of the Week Western thing, but then it also wants to be this big Star Wars. And so you get filler with Mando. Here, like, there's 6 episodes, and I don't think we're getting a season 2 of this show. Like, this is basically like this is a mini series in replacement of a movie. So like each episode's it's packing the heat, and like there's not much time wasted in these hour-long episodes.
Yeah, because this is definitely a limited series just because Marvel is coming out this year, right? Am I crazy?
The Marvels got pushed to November, but it's still this year.
Yeah. So that's unless Secret Invasion. Yeah, this is totally.
Well, and series. Keep in mind with the writer's strike, who knows what might happen.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the Marvels is all filmed now; it's just being edited. But if that turns into an actor strike and they can't make appearances, or if that turns into a special effects strike, like there's a lot of things that can happen.
Yeah, and that was announced like before Marvel kind of reshuffled their strategy with content. I'm still gonna go into them super positive, and I'm an MCU fanboy. I'm a diehard fan, so like I always pretty much all these shows I like and I have good things to say about them. That being said, they're doing a show on like a super minor character in Echo, and then they're doing a show based off of a song that trended as a meme for a weekend. So,
what?
Agatha.
Oh yeah, that's fair. I get what you mean.
I think they're gonna be great. They have great actors in them and stuff like that, and again, for me, the writing and everything like that for the Marvel shows have been good. Some of them have been great in my opinion, but they've all been good.
Yeah. Part of me sees the amount of, and I get that Marvel needs to slow down in some aspects, but I also think part of them is going, hey, this is no longer necessarily a very short, streamlined story. This is now the new medium instead of comics. So if Agatha doesn't interest you, don't watch Agatha, but she might appear in this movie, and you might just have to know the basics of what happened in her latest run, but really instead of a run, it's a season.
If the Marvels, it's like, how are you going to explain, Photon and Miss Marvel? Like, you just got to, all you need to know is like Photon got her powers from Wanda's hex magic.
WandaVision was also probably the most successful of the MCU shows, so like I feel like at this point everybody knows that one.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't, and then like Miss Marvel, it's like she's a teenager that puts on a bangle and gets these, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because with this show too, they're like kind of going back to the Captain Marvel stuff and explaining like the blip and stuff. They're like, all right, this is so that's just what you got to do.
Absolutely. So we are now through the first act of Secret Invasion. 4 episodes left to finish it off to the end of July. And we will be here for every single episode discussing, recapping, giving our theories. Whoever you think is a Skrull, let us know in the comments down below. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Spotify. Give us 5 stars on Spotify. All that good shit. Check out our other videos as well. And until next time, goodbye.